No one anticipated that Lil Nas X would be punished, much less placed in a jail cell in Los Angeles. However, following this outrageous stunt, assaulting a police officer in his undies, his future in prison is imminent. The fact that he has gone entirely insane is more shocking than the jail sentence.
Just keep them in your prayers, you know.
Let me explain how handcuffs were applied on Lil Nas X. This story is going to blow your mind, so pay attention. Imagine this. It is August 21st, 2025, just before sunrise. Police in Los Angeles are receiving panicked calls about a man who is buck naked and strolling through Studio City. Nobody on the dispatch call knew that one of the biggest stars in music was going to be arrested. But that's just what happened. That morning on Ventura Boulevard, from the first moment, the scene was pure anarchy. Several witnesses report seeing this figure, dressed just in clean whites and some worn-out cowboy boots, stumbling through the early morning streets. People initially believed they might be watching a complex guerrilla marketing campaign or music video shoot. The truth was much more unsettling. This was Monsanto, in the middle of what seemed to be a full-blown mental collapse. Exclusive camera, evidence that demonstrates the full scope of his unpredictable conduct, was obtained by TMZ.
Hey, don't be late to the party tonight.
Where at?
You know where it's at.
Video shows him mindlessly strolling, singing weird songs, and compulsively inviting individuals to an enigmatic party that only existed in his imagination. Seeing him drape a traffic cone on his head like a twisted crown, utterly detached from the reality that is taking place around him, is quite unsettling. Something extremely disturbing is captured in the video. You can see the precise times when his consciousness wavered. In one moment, he's showcasing his signature confidence while performing for cameras. The next, he's frantically asking everyone to stop filming, as though he's just realized how exposed and helpless he appeared. Onlookers were unsure whether to step in, contact the police, or simply record what seemed to be a famous person's worst day ever. When police officers came on the site, the situation drastically worsened. According to reports, Monto physically assaulted the responding cops rather than submitting to a quiet surrender or making an effort to explain his condition. He charged like a savage animal, witnesses said, utterly unable to discriminate between those attempting to assist and those he believed to be a threat. The officers had to, someone who is obviously experiencing a crisis, but also defending themselves against attack. The plot becomes considerably more sinister at this point. He appeared to be suffering from a serious narcotic overdose, according to paramedics. Them to take him to emergency care before they could make any reservations. Identified the precise cause of this severe behavioral episode, medical personnel conducted hours-long neurological evaluations and comprehensive toxicological screens during the hospital evaluation. The legal system went into overdrive as soon as the physicians gave him the all-clear. After being taken to Valley Jail in Van Nuys, Monto had his first encounter with a penal institution. Nobody failed to notice the irony that the same man who had once made jokes about being imprisoned for wearing Satan's shoes was now facing severe felony accusations. According to others familiar with the matter, he found it difficult to understand how his life had changed so drastically in a matter of hours, and his initial processing was distressing. Additional security procedures, segregation from the general public, and more documentation of each stage of the procedure were all part of the celebrity booking routine. This was no ordinary arrest. Received a Grammy, that superstar is given an inmate, number, fingerprinted, and photographed. It is impossible to overstate the psychological effects of that shift from international celebrity to county jail inmate. Prosecutors didn't mince words when they ultimately brought charges on August 25th. 3 different felony counts for battery causing injury to police officers and 1 count for violently resisting arrest were added to the court docket. If found guilty on all the charges, Montero could spend more than 10 years behind bars because each one carries a maximum sentence of 3 years in state prison. That's a life-changing, career-ending period of time for anyone, but especially for someone who recently turned 26. The legal system in California takes attacks on law enforcement very seriously. These slaps on the wrist are not misdemeanors. These are felonies, and conviction carries mandatory minimum penalties. It is evident that the district attorney's office believed the officer's comments and video footage were adequate to seek the worst punishments. As prosecutors seek to show that defendants are treated equally under the law, legal observers have been pointing out that celebrity status actually works against defendants in circumstances like this. During his arraignment, the courtroom drama peaked. Standing before a Los Angeles Superior Court judge, Montero entered a not guilty plea to all counts, while his recently hired defense lawyer rushed to control the circus of media attention that surrounded the case. The bail hearing turned into a pivotal battle, with the defense arguing for smaller sums due to his lack of prior criminal history and community links, while the prosecution demanded $300,000. In the end, the judge agreed to $75,000 bail, which is still a significant amount that shows the court's concern for public safety over flight risk. Regular check-ins with probation authorities and required participation in drug abuse programs were among the requirements for his release. These standards imply that the court system is aware of the underlying problems that led to his arrest. And breakdown. Reactions on social media ranged from criticism to sincere concern. While opponents exploited the episode to reinforce their long-standing grievances about his contentious creative choices, fans flooded platforms with prayers and encouraging comments. The rift in public sentiment was a reflection of larger cultural conflicts over celebrity culture, mental health, and responsibility in the entertainment sector. More security footage from the hours before his arrest surfaced. He was caught on camera walking the grounds of a hotel in Hollywood for around 15 hours to the events on Ventura Boulevard. Even though he is not a registered guest, he nonetheless acts in a troubling manner in these early recordings, taking off his clothes, consuming too much water, and appearing confused about where he is. According to this timetable, his decline was progressive and intensified over the day and night, rather than occurring suddenly. Questions were raised about what caused this prolonged episode and whether intervention could have avoided the final confrontation with police when hotel personnel noted that he seemed perplexed about his whereabouts and purpose. Criminal sanctions are only one aspect of the legal ramifications. In contrast to his prior civil legal troubles, such as the Nike trademark fight over Satan's shoes, which was eventually settled through settlements and publicity, this is Monto's first experience with serious criminal allegations. These criminal accusations have long-term repercussions that may impact anything from keeping professional licenses to traveling abroad. Industry insiders have been making assumptions about possible links between his detention and growing demands on his career. There have been rumors regarding his relevancy, as his recent musical releases have not been as successful commercially as his previous hits, and resilience in a field that is becoming more and more competitive. Whatever breaking point resulted in that August morning collapse might have been exacerbated by the pressure to live up to unattainable expectations while retaining his controversial public persona. The scandals that damaged his reputation and crushed his soul. After discussing how Monto got into trouble, let's go back in time and look at the major controversies that shaped his professional path. Every significant controversy, public outrage, and moral panic all contributed to an unavoidable collision that no one could have predicted. This man was an expert at converting indignation into chart success. But the same tactic might have completely destroyed him. The Montero, Call Me By Your Name visual spectacle, which many consider his masterwork of provocation, laid the groundwork for his contentious career. It was more than a music video. His portrayal in the most private setting of hell was a deliberate attack on conservative sensibilities. It was no accident that religious iconography was included. Every allusion, symbol, and provocative frame was intended to elicit the greatest amount of moral outrage from conventional Christian audiences. Even more divisive was the related goods strategy. Together with the infamous art collaboration MSCHF, they produced the renowned Satan shoes, Nike sneakers that have been customized with pentagrams, real human blood, and scriptural allusions to Satan's fall from grace. Each pair costs 1 through 18 and is limited to exactly 666 pairs. They embodied the ideal combination of capitalism and blasphemy that characterized Montero's strategy for generating controversy. The societal reaction was ruthless and quick. His artistic perspective was criticized by conservative pundits such as Candace Owens, who said he was corrupting black youngsters and destroying traditional family values. Boycotts were organized by religious authorities. Publicly, politicians denounced him. Additionally, Nike took prompt legal action to disassociate themselves from the unapproved changes made to their products. This is when the genius comes in. Key sermon and political censure. Deep rifts in American society regarding sexuality, ethnicity, and religious authority were exposed by the backlash. Critics of Montero were displeased with more than simply creative expression. A young black artist who was openly gay and refused to stay in his designated cultural lane threatened them. In his typically stubborn response to the criticism, he posted fictitious apologies that went straight to scenes of him scolding Satan, effectively reminding his detractors that their rage only helped him succeed. When it comes to controversy fueling business success, statistics don't lie. Within weeks, the Montero track had over 100 million views, rocketed straight to the top of Billboard, and solidified his reputation as a man who could use moral panic as a tool for mainstream financial gain. The Satan shoes were an immediate hit, turned into thousands of dollars worth of collector's goods, and established a model for cross-cultural artist-brand partnerships. But with his subsequent significant scandal, the trend of increasing provocations persisted. His most audacious religious appropriation to date occurred during the J. Christ era, including music videos with religious iconography reframed via a queer lens and album art that showed him crucified like Jesus. As the person who experienced the greatest comeback in history, Jesus Christ was explicitly honored in the title tune, combining purposeful blasphemy with sincere spiritual inquiry. His advertising campaigns were more offensively creative than ever before. Posts on social media depicted him swallowing communion components while dressed as Christ, fabricating admission letters from conservative Christian colleges, and basically acting like the Christian savior while endorsing music that many Christians disliked. For religious audiences who view those rites as sacrosanct and unfit for amusement, the Communion Act notably went too far. Christian outrage reached fever pitch, with important influencers and religious figures asking for boycotts and prayer, campaigns, and even recommending spiritual warfare against his influence. Religious communities felt that Monto had gone too far in ridiculing their faith, and this was reflected in Twitch broadcaster Kaizenot's viral tirade about divine vengeance. In addition to generating a great deal of participation, the controversy exposed the shortcomings of his shock value approach. Additionally, Aiden Ross made a comment.
First of all, you're gay. You're automatically going to hell. Second of all, this not okay. It's just not okay, bro. It's just not okay. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, bro. Listen, this not it. This really not it, bro. I got a lot of people that are very close to me in my chat, and we not rocking with this. It's super disrespectful. It's wrong. And yeah, burn, baby, burn. Like, who laughed at this, bro? Like, who's liking this? Like, bro, like, who the like, TikTok, you should have just been take this.
The criticism appeared to actually impact him for the first time. He apologized in public, admitting that some of the promotional material had been excessive, implying that even he understood the limits of his quest for viral fame.
But I do apologize for that. I will say I am sorry for that. That was overboard. Though I don't agree with all of Christianity's rules or whatnot. Hello, everybody. I wanted to not necessarily apologize, but I wanted to explain. I'm not the first person to dress up as Jesus. I'm not the first rapper. I'm not the first artist, and I won't be the last. And I know, like, given my history with, you know, the Call Me By Your Name video, anything that I do related to religion can be seen as, like, mockery. That just was not the case with this. And I will say, though, with the communion video, with me eating the crackers and juice, I thought that video was going to be the video to lighten the mood, to take it down, like, less serious or whatnot. I thought that was something that we all wanted to do as kids or whatnot, but I didn't understand the idea of, you know, the reality of what it is. You know, it's me eating the communion, which is like the symbolism of like Jesus's blood and bones or something like that.
His usually belligerent reactions to criticism were in stark contrast to this moment of vulnerability, which suggested internal conflicts with the psychological toll of perpetual controversy making. His bad social media conduct was further exposed by the transgender community scandal. His joke about gender change surgery in March 2023 came at a particularly delicate time when anti-trans laws were spreading across the country. LGBTQ+ advocates, who expected better from someone positioned as a queer icon, were really incensed by the poorly placed humor. His caustic dismissals in reaction to criticism from trans activists revealed a darker side of his nature and sparked harassment campaigns against community organizers. The event revealed how his past as an online troll occasionally overshadowed his position as a purported supporter of underrepresented groups. In comparison to the instant harm caused by his initial response and the subsequent backlash from his support base, even his final apologies felt insincere. He developed an additional layer of trauma as a result of the homophobic attacks he encountered during his career. Hip-hop's rejection of the openly gay identity of rapper Boozy Badazz reached its climax when he deleted a tweet that encouraged him to commit suicide. These weren't merely expert critiques. His freedom to thrive as a genuine LGBT artist in genres that are typically associated with men was personally attacked. Relationships inside the industry also suffered. His disagreements with BET even had misgivings about his controversial approach, as demonstrated by the devil worshipper who followed his award show performance. His recent breakdown might have been influenced by the professional isolation he experienced due to the gap between his artistic vision and industry comfort levels. Every controversy has a recurring trend. Weary of his strategies, his releases gained prominence when critics started pointing out that he relied more on shock value than musical substance, and questioned whether his artwork could endure without inciting fabricated indignation. The psychological cost. His social media presence made it more and more clear that he was keeping up this identity. The post demonstrated defensive attitudes against criticism, rising concern about public reaction, and evident difficulties striking a balance between genuine self-expression and financial pressures. Once boldly trolling conservative America, the young guy started to exhibit the symptoms of someone ensnared by his own contentious image. Despite using similar provocative techniques, recent releases were unable to elicit the same amount of cultural discussion. Compared to his previous hits, J. Christ's dismal start suggests that fans had either moved on or had grown weary of his contentious marketing strategy. Whatever situation led to his arrest in August was probably exacerbated by the dwindling returns on shock value. From chart topper to cautionary tale, a career catastrophe. Let's speak about how the company went from being a huge online sensation to an industry outcast. It didn't happen all at once, but in hindsight, the warning flags were obvious to anyone who was listening. One of the most stunning career reversals in modern entertainment history is Monto Lamar Hill's transformation from viral sensation to accused criminal. Examining each foundational fissure that ultimately caused the entire building to collapse is necessary to comprehend how we got here. Since the creation narrative of Lil Nas X reads like a textbook American tale, let's start from the beginning. Material for dreams. Young Montero appeared destined for artistic grandeur, having been born into a musical family in a Georgia suburb, with gospel-singing cousins providing the background music for his early years. However, beneath that hopeful exterior, early issues with sexuality, identity, and family dynamics led to psychological rifts that would eventually show themselves as his public breakdowns. During his teenage years, he became an expert at manipulating social media as Nazmiroj, a devoted Nicki Minaj fan account that amassed enormous followings via clever trolling and meme production. He only attended college for a year before leaving to pursue a career in music, working at theme parks and fast food restaurants for minimum salary, while writing the song that would change the world. Genre fusion and appealing tunes weren't the only factors in Old Town Road's explosive success. This song broke streaming records, dominated Billboard for 19 weeks in a row, and made the music business reevaluate the arbitrary distinctions between hip-hop and country. The Billy Ray Cyrus partnership greatly expanded its audience, garnering diamond certification and numerous Grammy honors, and solidified Montero's reputation as a manipulator of cultural discourse for financial advantage. In terms of his music, he is prepared to put his all into it.
I really want to make sure I have fun this time around. I don't think I got to have as much fun during the Montero era because I was more overly focused on, making sure the songs did well than making sure I was like having fun doing, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I didn't have any fun. I had some fun, okay? But I want this time around to be even more fun, and I want to be like even more full of joy, and I want to be even more full of love, and I want to go out here in this world, and I want to wave my hands in the sky and move about freely. And that's what the Dream Boy era is gonna be. Hotbox is coming next, fairly soon. I'm not gonna give you guys a date. I'm gonna announce it when I announce the date, okay? But I need you guys to stick beside me. We are coming, Monterage. We are coming. I have the songs. I have the music.
That extraordinary achievement set unachievable standards for everything that came after. Every release after your debut single becomes the decade's biggest hit is evaluated against that unachievable benchmark. For someone who was still figuring out who he was as an artist and a person, the demand to replicate viral magic while also establishing artistic legitimacy proved more difficult than anyone had imagined. Making the choice to come out as gay during Pride Month 2019 was brilliant from a strategic standpoint, but expensive personally. Being the first openly homosexual black rapper to become well-known paved the way for LGBTQ+ representation, but it also made him a target for homophobic taunts from conservative audiences and industry insiders. Although the bravery needed for that announcement is commendable, the psychological effects of ongoing scrutiny eventually became too much to bear. He insists, nonetheless, that he is proud to be gay. At one point, he even threatened his straight supporters.
A lot of y'all, y'all should be happy I'm gay, because I would take all
very easily.
His mental conflict over sexuality as a teenager, which included hoping that his desire was a passing fad, exposes the underlying guilt and bewilderment that shaped his subsequent creative decisions. It wasn't a gradual healing process to go from solitary self-doubt to militant LGBTQ visibility. Increasingly exaggerated public demonstrations of sexual identity were a result of reactionary overcompensation. The Montero album, which peaked at number 2 on Billboard and had chart-topping songs like Industry Baby, marked both the height of his artistic career and the start of his commercial decline. The project demonstrated real emotional depth and musical development. Critics who wrote him off as a one-hit wonder were shocked by the subtlety with which his songs addressed issues of celebrity, sexuality, mental health, and religious trauma. However, the album's popularity was unable to conceal the escalating issues in his partnerships, both personally and professionally. His relationship with dancer Yaya was made public. It includes their kiss at the BET Awards and the breakup that followed, exposing a person who found it difficult to keep close relationships when living in the spotlight all the time. His latter years were marked by a sense of solitude, partly due to the emotional burden of the breakup of that relationship, which was described as his most serious to date. Relationships within the industry suffered as his controversies grew more intense and less profitable. The lengthy live Montero tour received praise from critics for its artistic vision and theatrical ambition. Reduced radio support and declining streaming numbers could not be made up for by sold-out shows. The discrepancy between the success of his live performances and the difficulties he faced with digital platforms brought to light significant shifts in the way his audience accessed and used his work. The shortcomings of controversy-driven marketing tactics were exposed by recent music releases. Despite creating a lot of social media conversation, singles like J. Christ were unable to hold on to their chart places, indicating that audience had either grown weary of shock value strategies or switched to more recent performers using them. Whatever problem led to his detention was probably exacerbated by the falling profits on inflammatory content. His treatment of romantic relationships was a reflection of larger issues with trust and intimacy. Admitting to putting his relationship goals on hold to concentrate on his career development showed that he valued his work over his relationships, a choice that might have made him feel more alone and exacerbated his recent breakdown. His 2021 GQ interview on his split with Ariza revealed a sincere vulnerability that is uncommon in his public demeanor. His documentary endeavors were unable to reconcile the gap between his creative aspirations and business realities. While keeping information regarding love relationships and personal hardships private, long live Montero, his family relationships. His image was meticulously maintained, even despite having built a career on seeming sincerity. The apparently intimate documentary footage shows someone who is uncomfortable with actual vulnerability. Throughout his career, he received numerous MTV VMAs, 5 Billboard Music Awards, and 2 Grammys, among other honors. However, he was unable to find the personal pleasure he appeared to be seeking through increasingly desperate attention-grabbing strategies, nor could industry recognition address underlying psychological disorders. When compared to relational failures and internal emptiness, success indicators were meaningless. Professional pressures were devastatingly exacerbated by personal traumas. His team apparently failed to appropriately handle the emotional instability caused by his grandmother's death in 2018, his mother's ongoing issues with addiction, and the ongoing scrutiny of his sexuality. The film from February 2025 that reflected on some challenging years alluded to difficulties that were mostly concealed from the public until they erupted into legal issues. Career changes such as declining the Euphoria part to concentrate solely on music showed dedication to his creative vision. but they also revealed tunnel vision that disregarded indicators of his declining mental health. The choice to focus only on musical output while passing up chances for diversification would have put more pressure on each release to have an impossibly high level of financial and cultural impact. His levels of social media involvement go counter to the streaming data, which depicts a slow audience abandonment. Actual listening trends revealed waning interest in his musical production among casual fans who propelled Old Town Road to unprecedented success, even though controversy continued to produce headlines and trending issues. Cognitive dissonance over his true cultural relevance was probably brought on by this separation between consumption and attention. Industry insiders expressed growing dissatisfaction with his team's failure to convert viral events into long-term financial success. Tensions arose with record labels, booking agencies, and business partners who anticipated returns on their investments in his contentious brand due to the discrepancy between his social media reach and real commercial success. In addition to being a legal emergency, the August arrest is the unavoidable result of years of unresolved psychological trauma, work-related stress, and personal loneliness that his success was unable to conceal or end. The journey from viral sensation to felony defendant serves as a warning about the hidden cost of celebrity in the social media age, regardless of whether it signifies a short-term setback or the end of one's career. I appreciate you watching. Family, please click on the card that is displayed on the screen to view more of this type of information.